So my name is Alfonso Cross. I am 46 years old and am originally from a little bedroom community in the Bay Area called Fremont, California, about 30 minutes outside of San Francisco. Been here in Atlanta now for almost a decade and been operating Parlor cocktail den for the last just over 2 years. Certainly my time here in Atlanta has been very interesting. It certainly has been a bit of a roller coaster ride. There's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but it's been living. It's certainly, you know, I certainly decided with Parlor, with opening up Parlor Cocktail Den, to really sort of take the bull by the horns and do literally what I wanted to do. And so ended up starting a brand development company called Quintessential, which is a brand development company where we concept, brand, and execute integrated hospitality business units, hospitality retail business units in emerging markets. It's a very fancy way of saying we just come up with ideas and then we just make these things happen. So we exist in sort of 3 areas: retail, hospitality, and wellness. And so our very first brand that we decided to launch and bring to market was Parlor Cocktail Den. But how I ended up here certainly was very unexpected and didn't even plan sort of this path, if you will, although getting here is not unexpected. And so sort of going backwards and sort of talking about how I got here, my sister and I moved here to Atlanta and opened up a little healthy corner store called the Boxcar Grocer. And we did that back in 2011. My sister had this wild idea that I thought was wild at the time, but was a great idea to open up or to sort of turn the convenience store model, convenience store retail model on its head and sort of open up this sort of combination or a hybrid of a convenience store mixed with a Whole Foods. It was called the Boxcar Grocer. We were very proud of it. We opened in 2011 and we ended up closing in 2015. For a myriad of reasons. I always tell people all of the things that one could do wrong with regards to opening up or starting their very first small business. We did all those things wrong. But it was, I always tell people, it was a very successful failure and really gave me, and my sister as well, but very much gave me an understanding of how I did want to move forward as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. And so it really shed a lot of light on the fact that there are very few brands, there are very few retail experiences, there are very few brands just in general that are specifically speaking to a middle-class Black demographic. There's this sort of thought process that because Black folks are sort of operating in this sort of underdeveloped socioeconomic space, that brands should not speak directly to them, and I think that that's very, very false. And so that's how I ended up sort of coming up with the idea for Quintessential, and to be able to create these brands that very much speak to and have a very much a cultural undercurrent that is very unapologetically Black, but that doesn't mean that it's exclusive or that only Black folks can come into Parlor, or only Black folks can come into all of our brands that we're creating. It's not the case at all. As a matter of fact, we have a very diverse group of folks that come into Parlor. And so really sort of learned a lot from Boxcar on sort of what not to do, what to do, what things worked, what things didn't work, and was able to really sort of transfer that and leverage some of that intellectual capital for getting Parlor to the space that it is now. I always tell people, so our father was an entrepreneur as well. He passed away in 2001, but our father was very much an entrepreneur, very much was all about, you know, being your own boss, starting your own business, owning your own land, buying property, the whole 9 yards, and I learned all that from him. My sister and I both did. And I always tell people that I don't feel as though I was really very much raised as much as I was manufactured. You know, my father was very, very adamant, and he was just basically said the same thing all the time. There was a lot of repetition. And so, you know, for me, as a man, as an entrepreneur, as a black man, my father was very instrumental in giving me all of the business acumen, brain side of things to be able to do the work that I do now, and to allow and to have that work be very impactful to the community and just impactful for me personally. I love what I do. I'm literally doing my dream job, and so being able to have that from him was invaluable. But I also have to give my mother props too, because she was very adamant about manufacturing us to be human beings and to be very humane, and to be empathetic and compassionate and all the things necessary for a brand to be able to speak to the marketplace. Yeah, you can make the best tennis shoes ever, but if you can't get the tennis shoes to connect with human beings, nobody's gonna wear these tennis shoes. And so it is valuable to have sort of both sides, that sort of yin and that yang, and I feel as though sort of that point, that early point in my life, with all of that sort of constant, you know, own your own business, own your own business, own your own business, certainly ended up, you know, got me here. I think that his passing certainly was a defining moment or a turning moment for me, because it made it official, right? I was on my own at that point, from the perspective of not having a mentor or the counsel that I had gotten so comfortable with having over, you know, the course of 26, 27 years. And so that point at which my father died, it sort of was a hard line in the sand that, you know, certainly I was going to have to grow up and decide what kind of a man I was going to be. And while that's been a while, you know, I mean, that's over 15 years ago, it still resonates with me today on, with regards to the good, the bad, and the ugly of just being a human being and being an entrepreneur. And so, I don't think that I would be doing the work I'm doing today if it wasn't for both of those things, meaning the tutelage as well as, you know, the torch in a sense being passed with his passing. So it's very important for me as I move forward in doing all the work that we're doing and creating all the brands that we're creating and, you know, just everything that we're doing. It's important for me to, at the very least, because I do a lot of things wrong, I tell people this all the time, I do more things wrong than I do right, but to at least be some sort of example of an ability to do this, whatever the this is. I think too often times, especially for black folks, we feel as though there's a lot of mystery around things, and I'm really adamant about demystifying things. None of this stuff is, you know, curing cancer and putting people on the moon. The work that we do is a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work. But stripping back the layers of there's no way I could do this, and really showing a real blueprint that anybody can do damn near anything. It doesn't, you don't have, a lot of times you don't really have to be special or educated or anything grand. It really just is about, number one, being clear about what you want to do. Number two, being very clear about whatever it is that you're wanting to do, that being fulfilling and fun and interesting, and you want to do this. And I think number three, doing something that has some type of value to other human beings, whether that's one person, whether that's a million people, but providing some sort of some sort of a value. Just sitting around just making money, I guess that's fulfilling for some people, but I don't think that's what gets people happily out of bed every morning and jumping out of bed and saying, here we go, we're gonna do this again today, we're gonna do this again today. You need to like what you do. And so that's probably like a really great bookend to this, that I'm very proud of the work that we do here at Quintessential. I'm very proud of our very first brand, Parlor. I'm very proud of the fact that I do have the ability to hop out of bed every morning and be very excited about the work that I do. And I'm very proud of the fact that I'm impactful in my community. And that's how I got here with Quintessential and our very first brand, Parlor Cocktail Tent.